Okay, let's just start by saying that expressing yourself through the medium of modifying a car is something we highly recommend and encourage. We've both done it countless times. We continue to modify cars.
Yep, still doing it.
It's awesome.
But if you're the type of person that's purely modifying your car for aesthetics, you just like the way it looks in the car park and you want other people to look at it in the car park, then go right ahead. All bets are off. This advice is not for you.
But if you're modifying your car to hopefully enhance how it drives, you're into driving and you like your car to maybe be a little bit faster, a bit more impressive, a bit more engaging, these 7 mods are going to ruin that for you.
Yeah.
Although...
Wait till the end, because there's one modification which every car enthusiast should make. Stay tuned.
It will make driving your car 1,000 times better. But look, let's get into this. In no particular order, but the first modification that people are just wasting their money on, aero.
Bad aero.
Bad aero.
Now, unless you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on computer modelling and wind tunnel testing, it's likely you are wasting your money.
And even then, that wind tunnel testing and CFD modelling has to be done on that particular car with its particular suspension and tyre setup.
It's a very precise and scientific process.
But even to the point, bad aero... Not only do you look like a wanker with giant wings and stuff all over your car, I know it's a matter of taste, but it looks stupid. Let's say with a front splitter, right?
Yep.
If you've got that front splitter bolted to the front bar or even something plastic under the car, once you get to about 100k an hour, it can start to flex. That can then create pressure systems under the car, which then can create lift, so it'll actually make your car's handling even worse at high speeds.
Yeah, and not to mention, if whatever it's bolted to isn't strong enough, it will break off.
Exactly.
And fly off into the air or go under your car, and you'll make you look like a right twat.
And before anyone starts going, oh yeah, but rear wings, this and that, no. The proof in terms of how little a rear wing works in terms of real world driving is the Honda Civic Type R Sport. This is the FK8 Civic. In the Europe and UK markets, they did the Sport model, which they removed the giant wing off the back. It made, the only difference it really made below 130k an hour was that it reduced drag. That rear wing on the FK8, it can produce about 30 kilos of downforce, but that's at like 200 kilometers an hour.
Well, it started to work at over 150 kilometers an hour. And I would also wager how many people are actually going into a corner at 150 kilometers an hour where they're going to need that aero.
Exactly.
Not many.
Even then, you then have to have the driver skill to even detect that kind of lift and that kind of balance change. Complete waste of money.
Now, the caveat here, if you're on track and you're using properly designed and installed components, it can make you a little bit faster, but the rest of the aero you just chuck on your car because it looks good is most likely going to slow you down.
Yeah, basically, if you want the look of wings and shit all over your car, fine, but just know it's probably going to be at the detriment of performance on the road.
Now, next on our list is something we see in the workshop all of the time. Like, it's frightening how often we see this, and it's nearly always done completely wrong.
Yep. Basically, an exposed pod filter in an engine bay is one of the easiest ways to destroy the performance of your car.
Now, typically when it's installed incorrectly, it is just open to the engine bay. And now engine bay temperatures can get up to 70, 80 degrees on a hot day. If that hot air is sucked into your engine, it is actually bad for your engine and will actually reduce engine performance.
Yeah, like fun fact, for every 3-degree rise in intake temperature, you're going to be losing 1% of your horsepower. And that means your car is going to feel sluggish, it's going to be down on power, it's going to be bloody horrible to drive. Throttle response can get destroyed as well.
And part of the reason for this, when your ECU detects a high inlet air temperature, it actually reduces power. It reduces ignition timing and basically just cuts you so you can't cook the engine.
And look, it can increase the intake sound of your engine and you might get the perception that your car is faster.
Induction noise, everybody loves that.
Fantastic.
Yep.
The reality is there's a high chance your car's actually going to be slower.
Also, manufacturers do actually spend a lot of money developing these intake systems, and more often than not, they are actually totally fine.
And even in terms of aftermarket stuff, there are some really good enclosed aftermarket air boxes. Check those out. But this whole exposed pod in an engine bay, don't do it. You're wasting your money.
Speaking of the perception of speed through noise, the next one on our list is a good one.
Exhaust systems. Now, obviously, there's a couple of ways you can think of an exhaust system here. You can have an aftermarket exhaust system from the cat back, or a full system from the extractors or a downpipe, an upgraded cat all the way through. The problem with going from a cat back exhaust system here is that an exhaust system is only as free flowing as its most restrictive part, which is probably going to be the downpipe or the cat or the extractors.
Or the turbo.
But the big problem here is if you fit any of these exhaust systems without retuning the ECU to match.
If you do any exhaust modification that genuinely does improve exhaust or airflow through the engine, it has to be matched to the engine properly and tuned so it actually works properly.
Yeah, from cat back, you might get a tiny little, like 1 or 2% gain in horsepower.
You probably not. You might hear it and you might think it's faster, but you're probably not.
Yeah, it might save weight because the factory system can be quite heavy, so you might, shave off a few kilos here and there.
I don't think anyone doing an exhaust in this market is getting a lightweight titanium exhaust.
But then when you go extractors or a downpipe and a cat, without an ECU tune, pretty much a waste of money.
Yep. Now, the risks are here, if it has improved airflow, you can actually affect your air-fuel ratio, and an air-fuel ratio that is not right will definitely do engine damage.
Yeah.
And not to mention the endless catalyst efficiency fault codes it's going to throw as well.
Yeah, and look, a good exhaust system with a really good tune can be a really bloody good thing, can make a world of difference, but with no tune or a bad ECU tune, oh my God, you're in for a world to hurt. Again, not worth the risk.
And speaking of bad ECU tunes...
Yeah, look, downloading some generic over-the-internet flash tune for your car, this is basically playing Russian roulette with your engine. We know because we know so many people that have grenaded their engines from doing exactly this.
Now, look, reputable tuning companies spend an absolute fortune on getting these tunes right, and it costs so much because it takes a very long time to get it right.
And it's not just getting extra horsepower or torque, it's also putting enough safety systems in these tunes to make sure you don't blow your engine up. And so they can be used with different fuels and in different climates and different parts of the world.
And to keep the car drivable too.
Yeah, like we've lost count of how many people we know that have said, oh, well, this company wants $2,500 for this tune, but this company does it for $800 and it's got even more horsepower. I'm just going to get that one. And next thing you know, engine goes kaboom.
And be very cautious with any tuner that's promising you more power and better fuel economy. The two of those do not exist together.
No. Look, the biggest concern with these dodgy ECU tunes is just a lack of protective algorithms here. They very rarely account for bad fuel mixtures or Australia's weird climates that we can have and humidity and barometric pressure and a whole bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, another thing to look out for, they use a bit of a cheap trick where they use throttle pedal mapping to make it feel faster and more responsive. It's not making more power, it just sort of changes the mapping to accelerate a little bit harder at low RPM. It's not making more power.
Or they'll even give you spikes in turbo boost or spikes in power. So it looks good on a dyno. You get this like massive horsepower increase and torque increase. But driving that around is horrible. It makes it near impossible to drive in traffic or in real world scenarios and conditions. Also, any of these tunes, if it hasn't got some kind of dyno time that you have to put into it to actually get it exactly right for your particular car and your particular fuel and your particular climate, just dodgy. I just think unless you're spending proper money on this, it's just not worth it.
Yeah, that's the key. You need to spend a lot of money to get it right.
Okay, now look, this next one, I get it, okay? It's fun. I've done this. I've driven various Volkswagen Golfs and Hyundai i30Ns with the pop and crackle tune, all right? I get it. It can be fun. Everyone outside the car thinks you look like a complete and utter wanker. Okay?
There's a time and a place.
Yeah, and it's
There
not
really
in
is.
built-up metropolitan areas. You look like a tool.
Yeah.
Worse still, you could be doing potentially massive damage to your engine.
Now, I just want to add here, pop and crackle is actually okay if it is legit. If you're in a highly strung car on a mountain road somewhere or through a valley and you back off and it pops and crackles because your exhaust system is glowing red hot, that's a thing.
Yeah.
In some cases, that's fine. But if it's tuned to do it at 60 kilometres an hour around town, it's not legit. It's ridiculous.
If you're in an actual World Rally car with actual anti-lag and you're competing in the World Rally Championship, that is sick. If you're in a Golf in a Westfield car park, you're a knob.
Look, one of the ways they do this, they sort of trick the ECU into retarding the spark, so it's basically igniting the fuel in the exhaust system. Now, one of the problems you can have here is when that fuel burns, especially inside the catalytic converter, that will often melt down the catalytic converter and destroy it. And that can actually block it, or in some cases, fragments of that cat can sort of come back into the engine with exhaust reverberations and make their way into your turbo or your engine, and you can kill an engine just like that.
Not only that, those exhaust reverberations can fire back at your actual turbo and the impeller blades within the turbo itself.
Yep.
This can put extra stresses on the impeller bearings. It can play havoc with the actual turbo blades themselves, so it can destroy a turbo in no time. Then, from the turbo back into your engine, stuff can go back into the actual engine and you can end up destroying the internals of the engine.
And also some of the cheap tunes, they are just dumping extra fuel in there as well, which can be terrible for your bore scoring and oil dilution, and another way to completely destroy your engine.
Yeah, so look, while we don't like the sound of these pops and crackles going off in the suburbs all the time, I personally get a bit of satisfaction knowing that those people are just slowly destroying their engine, and it's going to cost them thousands of dollars to put it right.
They're going to learn the hard way.
They're going to learn the hard way. Here's an idea. Don't have a pop and crackle tune.
Next up, bad suspension. Now we're talking cheap and nasty coilovers or lowered springs on standard shocks.
Yeah, this is arguably the most effective way to completely ruin a perfectly good car. The problem with cheap and nasty coilovers is that they're cheap. That means they're made with inferior products. They're tuned poorly. We know of plenty of scenarios where the spring and even the damper rate between two out of the same box are completely different. So the right-hand front will perform completely differently to the left-hand front.
And if you're working them hard, they'll start leaking oil and they'll wear out prematurely. It's just a nightmare.
Yeah, even because the materials they're using to make them cheap are cheap parts, they can wear out. You've got to remember where they're positioned in the car is one of the most harsh environments on a vehicle. You give it 6 to 12 months of rain and road grime and all sorts of crap, you start getting corrosion early, they can leak, or the rubber parts start degrading. We've seen these things fail at 10 to 15,000 K. So you're basically throwing your money away.
Yeah, and the other scenario where you're putting lowered or heavy duty springs on your standard struts, the problem here is those struts internally are valved to suit the spring that was on it beforehand. If you're putting a much heavier spring on there or a lower spring, you're working the range at which it works in the shock absorber, and the valving is just all wrong for that spring. So you end up driving down the road and it's just bobbing like this, and it most certainly doesn't make your car faster.
Speaking of the whole pogo stick effect, cheap coilovers, they'll try to fool you into thinking they're really clever by having a really, really high spring rate. So you're bouncing, you see it all the time, the car's bouncing all over the place. But the thing is that, it ruins your braking distances because it can't get, the contact patch on the road. Through a corner, if there's any bumps, which in the real world there are plenty of bumps, again, you're losing contact patch, so your car's going to be slower through the corners. It's going to drive in a straight line poorly. Because the calibrations are all over the place when they're made, just trying to get your suspension geometry right can be an absolute nightmare. It's just a world of hurt.
Yeah, not to mention the legalities in some areas as well. On the flip side, good quality suspension with the right tuning and the right setup can absolutely transform your car.
100%. And look, we're currently working and researching on a full suspension guide video with our mates from Automotive Superstore. But in the meantime, jump on the owners groups and forums, get some advice of what has worked for other owners, what they recommend. And also scan that QR code and hit the link below, type in your rego, and the Automotive Superstore site will tell you all the parts that are going to be best suited to your car. And they ship Australia-wide, and they're absolute legends. They've got a great suspension lineup. I actually drove yesterday, my daily's a Ford Fiesta ST, standard everywhere. I drove a Ford Fiesta ST just purely with some really nice aftermarket suspension, and when it's done right, oh my God, the difference was incredible. Okay, now this next one, this is a challenging one because it's not necessarily a massive waste of money. We're talking aftermarket wheels and tyres.
Look, let's face it, most of us put aftermarket wheels on our cars because it looks good.
100%.
Yeah.
And even some of the cheap replicas can look the business.
Yeah.
And obviously not everyone can afford to go and buy a set of legit Rays or BBS or whatever it happens to be.
Yeah.
The problem is when you put a heavy replica wheel on or a heavy aftermarket wheel on, that increases unsprung mass, and that's going to be detrimental to the performance of the car. Not just in acceleration, but in terms of braking and handling and a bunch of things.
Yeah, and not to mention really cheap rims are weak as piss. You hit a decent pothole, you are going to bend it.
Yeah, and then it's a complete waste of money.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to tyres, this is the part of your car that's touching the road. Don't cheap out here, okay? The amount of times we see cars with all the horsepower, all the suspension, amazing body kit, amazing stereo, and then it's wearing
a set of Sun Gold Maxes, whatever they are.
Or
seriously,
1 degree above a retread, and you're like, "Are you
awful.
serious? Insane!"
Yeah, and the fit too. Don't stretch the bejesus out of them. That's an aesthetic choice. I understand, and some people like the fit and the poke. I get it, but It's not good for your car's handling, seriously.
Yeah, and the whole hella flush stance thing, again, like, all right, if you're in this purely for aesthetics and you clearly do not care how your car drives, fine.
That's right, this loops back to that thing.
Yeah,
If that's what you're
fine.
into, that's fine.
Totally sweet. But don't think that having, enormous amounts of negative camber is going to make your car handle better. It simply won't. Your car's going to be slower. It's going to be worse to drive.
And not to mention tyre wear.
Oh, yeah, that as well.
Now, we did tempt you at the start of the video by saying there was an ultimate mod that everybody should do. Now, our regular viewers might think that is fitting a set of WiperTech wiper blades, although they are incredible. That's not it.
Although, when you scan that QR code or hit the link below, you're going to get 15% off and free express shipping. And they are some of the best blades in the business. That's why we use them exclusively. And they're mates of ours that have been supporting us for ages. So show them some love. But easily the best mod you can do, which is going to make your car, I reckon, 1,000 times better in every sense, is modifying the person behind the wheel.
Yes.
Advanced driver training and proper coaching is easily the best thing you will ever do to the performance or for the performance of your car.
Yeah, and even though not everybody's got the budget for a coach, go and do some track days.
Yeah.
Talk to people that know what they're doing and learn about your car, find out the car's limits and know how to use your car properly. That is what it's all about.
Look, the analogy I use all the time, right? I'm sure you can cook. I'm sure you can make a decent pasta or at least like a really good cheese on toast. The thing is, if you wanted to get better at cooking, do you think just going out and buying the best pots and pans and knives and ingredients, just doing that is going to make you a better cook? Of course not. The best way to be a better cook is to go and get cooking lessons or talk to a chef and get some tips of how things work.
What's that saying? All the gear and no idea?
Yeah. The tools do not make the tradesman.
Yeah.
So we do so many motorsport events. We've been on track, I don't know what, 20 years, 30 years plus, forever.
I know I've got some terrible habits. I could do with coaching. If there's any driver coaches out there that want to donate some time, link below.
I've been lucky enough to do a whole stack of driver coaching, and even after decades of track work, I'm still going, what extra coaching can I get? It is the best thing you'll ever do. Also, it'll make good mods even better again. You'll quickly learn that you don't need to do a whole bunch to your car to get the best out of it. But when you do the right mods to it, all of a sudden, you can actually take advantage of those mods because you know how to steer.
And another thing, when you get on track, you might realise that all of those shitty mods you did, you might realise just how shitty they are.
Yeah. And also, if you're still thinking that you're above driver coaching or training or anything like that, most Formula One and World Rally drivers have a driving coach. So if you think you're above that, you're deluded.